While drivers like Frecia, Simone, Rinna, and T have been the ones to beat in seasons past, last week Jamie Fluke made one last appearance and showed why his car has that black stripe. But the pro has made it clear he's unable to return, and so this reopens the doors to our typical winners. But today's track makes its first appearance in official racing for the Lotus 79. Will Long Beach make a difference in our top finisher? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 2 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. I am Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Peter Mackay. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Long Beach has shown up many times these past 2 weeks on the channel and has proven a popular addition. Let's head to our track guide to understand why. Welcome to Long Beach. Nestled into the south side of Los Angeles and running alongside the Pacific Ocean, this street circuit has made the port area world famous. Both Formula One and IndyCar have called this 2-mile, 11-turn circuit home. Winning here has become a prestige worth boasting about among open-wheel pilots. Indeed, the winners list includes the likes of Lauda, Andretti, Unser, Montoya, Power, and many other legendary names in racing. Much like its European sister over in Monaco, it's short, tight, and punishing. But unlike Monte Carlo, this circuit emerged from a rundown piece of California coast to grow into the glamorous location it is today. Down into Turn 1 at the end of Shoreline Drive is where the majority of overtakes tend to be made. But sneaky passes can also pop up in places like 6 on the way into Pine Avenue, or Turn 9 at the end of Seaside Way. There's also 2 distinctive landmarks notorious for causing track blockages. The fountain section, with all its beauty, is a single-file affair save for the first lap. And the hairpin has been a staple here, even though it's changed locations a few times. In fact, that last hairpin not only includes the dangers of getting tangled with another car, but the important nature of getting the best exit you can to keep your rival from having a chance to pass you into the first corner. It feels appropriate that California's signature street track is a hop, skip, and a jump away from the beach. But while others might be trying to attack the surf, our drivers today will be attacking the corners instead. I love this place, love seeing cars race around here, but Peter, now we get a car that really did race at this track.
Indeed, it's an absolute joy to see this brand new Long Beach circuit here on iRacing, or certainly I should say brand new to iRacing, but been around since the 1970s. A proper challenge, a real thread the eye of the needle. And in this Lotus 79, the leading Grand Prix car of its day, it is such a special place to drive. Requires full-out commitment and quite a different prospect to the vast expanses of Silverstone last week. So the drivers who have put in the time and got those setups dialed in are really gonna have the advantage. But really, your main overtaking spot is down into Turn 1. You've got a very long drag down Shoreline Drive and quite a decent braking zone into Turn 1. So watch out for there. But the main thing is keeping it out of those walls, because these Lotus 79s, they are fragile.
No doubt about that. And last week we got our championship kicked off at Silverstone. So taking a look at the driver's standings, Jamie Fluke, of course, with his win, is going to lead things, but he doesn't think he'll be back for the rest of the season. So we see our regular runners up with him, Simone, Rinna, Frecia, and then Bycroft in there as well. But he hasn't had the greatest past few seasons, so maybe Bycroft can start to turn things around with his top 5 from last week. Peter, we might have new viewers who haven't watched the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series, so why don't you run us down the race details real quick?
Okay, so here in the Lotus 79 Grand Prix Series, we have a sprint format, no pit stops, 45 laps around this short circuit here at Long Beach. But most importantly of all, an open setup. And although this car is, well, God, coming on for 45 years old now, It still has a lot of adjustment, so the setup is really, really important for the drivers to maximize the most amount of speeds. And you'll hear the really experienced driver talking about the little nuances that they can change on the car. Now, normally you would see 17 incident points, would see you having a penalty, but the respect you see in this particular series is very, very impressive indeed. But also, really, here at Long Beach, incident points are not your problem. If you hit the wall, your day's done anyway. So, so the incident points we don't really need to worry about, but a straight sprint to the flag, and we'll see some really quick laps towards the end of the race when the fuel starts to burn off.
So far of our provisional pole sitter, it's Severi Seppa up at the top by about almost 0.3 of a second over Martin Granberg with such a short lap. That's rather impressive. It gets much tighter behind him. Sean Wiltshire only 6/1000ths behind, 33 thousandths for Nick Johnson back in fourth, 45 1,000ths back to the next car with Alexis Tapia Vico. So the top five all under 0.4 of a second, but the biggest gap from P1 to P2 as we watch Stephen Place come around. Looks like he's only going to put it into 13th. Here's Granberg on the screen now, the Scandinavian coming up to the very difficult and iconic hairpin around that slow corner and onto the throttle. Again, he's got quite a gap to try and get up to the top step. Does he have it here? No, he must have had a brush with the wall somewhere because that one did not count.
Ooh, controversial. Whoa, we've got Eto Vainokangas putting it over the wall there at the end of his lap. Let's see what David Serrois can do in that wonderfully liveried, the Talbot Gitagne paint scheme there. Of course, the Canadian Gilles Villeneuve won one of his 6 Grand Prix here in 1979 in what was a very uncompetitive Ferrari at the time, but good old Gilles, Joe, he knew how to wheel a car and get the most out of it.
Certainly did, especially at tracks where it was hard to pass. If he got the track position, nobody was getting by. Sean Wiltshire stays in third. He was not able to improve. But Marco Kela finds himself on the top spot, overtaking Seppa by a 1/10.5. Interesting stuff. We're still waiting on a number of cars to put one down. Barry West is among those. In fact, he's just coming across for his first time lap, a 1:11.2. It's going to put him in 20th out of 21 drivers. Let's see, we're waiting on Baumann, Trangrade, Villeneuve, Jepsen, Schmiedling, and Karjalainen. But of them, only Baumann and Villeneuve are on the track right now. That's Carl that we see on screen. His one-time lap that he was able to put in is going to put him in 20th place.
Let's see what David Serrois can do. The second seed, so the second highest rated driver in the iRacing service in this session. Can he improve? He does ever so slightly, just nips a couple of tenths off his time. Chris Baumann coming round in the Candy Team Tyrrell, loading up the power, opening up that Cosworth DFV V8, nearly 500 horsepower in this Grand Prix machine. Very, very, very impressive indeed. An engine which started in 1967 and went all the way into the early 80s in competition. Now, what can Barry West do? Barry, famous for always turning up for an interview but never having his mic working.
Well, the number 27 does not improve. He's about 0.2 off. I can also unfortunately report that Serrois' improvement did not count because that was his third lap. That's going to be everybody, I believe. Nobody else has the time to complete a flying lap from here. No, actually, I take that back. Chris Baumann is going to have enough for his second one because he just came onto the backstretch with about 1.5 minutes to go. So the number 8, who sits in 13th, is going to try and see if he can go just that little bit quicker. Certainly has a very narrow margin to the car ahead of him, about 33 thousandths to Etu Vainokangas. So as he comes off the hairpin and brings it down to the line, the 1:10.365 becomes a 1:9.92. That's on the second row up to third place. It's a good thing that he kept at it.
Clutch lap there from Chris Baumann. Really impressive indeed, right at the death, and puts himself on the second row. And as we say, Joe, track position here is vital. Brilliant stuff from Chris Baumann.
So that completes our starters. Marco Kela is going to be on the pole position with Severi Seppa in second place. Chris Baumann, who we just saw move himself up into third, will be flanked by Martin Granberg in the fourth position. Sean Wiltshire starts P5, followed by Peter Koneski in sixth. Pauli Kalevi Partanen will be in seventh, followed by Nicholas Johnson in eighth. The inside of the next row has John Eddowes in the ninth position, and the outside of row 5 is Alexis Tapiavico.
Starting on the sixth row of the grid is Paul Williams and Dennis Shanik. Row 7 sees Eto Vaino Kangas and David Serwa. Row 8 will be Juresi Lequata, Mark Hutchison in 16th. Row 9 will see Timothy Reed and Dustin Gilliand. And row 10 will be Michael de Turk and Stephen Place.
Carl Villeneuve starts 21st, followed by Barry West in 22nd. Jack Ulstead is the last driver to get time in. Others appear to have gotten some damage, I think, from something hitting the wall or just spun out and decided not to clock laps. That includes Trangrade, Jepsen, Schmiedling, and Karjalainen as the cars now line up on the grid. And it is a pretty big field here today with 27 cars taking start. So expect lap traffic to play a part, even though it is a sprint race. What can our drivers do out there? Can they keep it safe? Can they keep it pointed forward and manage to at least see the checkered flag? This is going to be similar in terms to what we've seen at places such as Montreal and Detroit in the past for these Lotus 79 cars, which will test the driver's bravery, skill, and precision to keep it between the cars or keep it between the walls and keeping the car from gaining any sort of damage. I think just a couple more, then we will get going for today's 45-lap event for round 2 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series. Waiting for Karjalainen, who now puts himself on the grid. And it looks like that's everybody because the lights are now up. The engines are revving. Green flag is out, and Kayla gets a horrible start. Seppa is already launching past. They're looking at potentially 3 wide. That was Granberg who actually lifted, decided he was going to get squeezed and didn't want to risk it. Chris Baumann now going to come up alongside him as up into the first corner. Seppa looks like he's got that top spot. Kayla slots into second. Granberg third. A little bit of side-by-side. Oh, and Baumann gets bumped into the wall. We also had some problems at the start with some cars in the back. Baumann able to get going, but it was not the clean start that they were hoping for.
No, not at all. Well, the walls of Long Beach, they do bite, and well, they wanted candy there for Chris Baumann and the candy team at Tyrrell, but that's a disaster, really, for our pole setter there to lose out to Seppa, and because with that track position is so vital around here at Long Beach, you can't afford to give it away. You don't get the opportunities to snap back straight away, so that really changes the complexion of the race straight out.
It really does, and I think we've got another car on the wall. Sean Wiltshire at the end of Seaside Way, unfortunately, has wrecked into the outside wall. Also, drivers involved in that opening incident: Trangrade, de Turk, Vanio Congas, and Partanen. Unfortunately, many of our starters having a bad day here as we have already completed lap 1. Seppa continues to lead through the first corner and into the fountain section. Martin Granberg up into third. Let's take a look at what happened. Now, I didn't even get a chance to go back and see, Peter. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at this before this.
No, I didn't, but round here, just coming into the fountain section, it gets very, very narrow, and you've got to be really, really careful now. Oh, that's a heavy impact. Chris Baumann had absolutely nothing he could do there. He just gets ploughed from behind there. I didn't quite catch who that was, but it was a heavy impact.
And we're going to have to come back live as we've not got time to try and review. I can tell you that David Serwa was the start of that incident on the start. Not entirely sure what happened, but it seems many cars piled in, and it just was a complete mess. As we have Seppa ahead of Kayla by about 0.7 seconds here, coming down into turn 1 once again. Closest fight up at the front, though, appears to be between Granberg and Konecki. Peter coming up from 6th place to 4th and really chasing on the gearbox of that red machine.
Indeed, yeah. Konecki really getting off to a brisk start indeed. But Severi Seppa, he looks to be in very much racy form in that number 3 car. And of course, running the factory livery, the factory paint scheme of the Lotus 79 in the hands of Mario Andretti. Interestingly, Lotus 79 did not win here at Long Beach. It was actually the Lotus 78 the year before, the car's predecessor, which won in the hands of Mario Andretti.
Yeah, I learned that myself last night. I had always assumed that it was such a dominant car that he won in the Lotus 79. So, indeed, it was in 1977 that he took victory here. And I think the only American to win the U.S. Grand Prix. I think David Gilliland, unfortunately, also finding himself in the wall, exiting turn 9. This time on the inside as he goosed it a little too hard.
Let's get a look then and see what happened. And whoa, just loops it there way round at turn 9, Firestone turn. Well, need a new set of Firestones after that. They will be hot after that particular spin. But there's a little bump on the inside curb there, and it's quite easy to take a little bit too much curb, just get a little bit greedy, and it can set the car into a little bit of a spin. Of course, this car does have ground effect aerodynamics. It was the first car to really make use of the technology in Formula One, and if you upset that ground effect, if you interrupt it, then the magic carpet is well and truly pulled from underneath you.
Incredibly, after only 4 laps with our 26 starters, one of the drivers did not take to the grid. We are down to 20 cars still running. So it is unfortunately incredibly narrowed down, and Gilliland finds himself spearing off into the runoff area.
He's off to the beach for an ice cream. He's had enough.
The beach is the other direction, I'm afraid.
Well, he's gone to the pub as well. But at the front, Severi Seppa and Keller just trading fastest lap. There's that fuel. Of course, these cars, efficiency was not such a concern when the Cosworth BFV was in its pump, but well, it burns off fuel so quickly. So these cars just get lighter and lighter and lighter all the way through. And actually, I think, Joe, that it takes 3 or 4 laps till the tyre is absolutely at its very, very best. So this is pretty much a golden opportunity now for the drivers really to push on.
On screen pushing is Nicholas Johnson, leading this trio as Tapia Vico unfortunately finds Paul Williams breathing down his neck. You can see him taking a peek down Oceanside and then deciding better of it. Oh, a little bobble off the corner, though. Vika's going to at least have the graces of the hairpin, which is very tough to pass in, to hold him back for now, but he really wants to get the throttle down, and it looks like a good exit for Alexis.
You can see the Martini cam there, the very famous, the world's most famous vermouth.
As he breaks into the first corner, he's going to keep himself well clear of Paul Williams for the time being, but he's certainly lost about 1.5 seconds up to Nick Johnson. So the top 5 is off the cards briefly as he has to play defense. Coming around turn 5 onto Shoreline, and the car is struggling for grip.
Yeah, very, very bumpy in that section there at just coming up towards Pine Avenue now. And look at that, they're just hanging on over the crest and then hard on the brakes. And then you've just got this real thread the eye of the needle coming through turn 8 at Salonpas turn, down Seaside Way towards Firestone turn. Although I wonder if maybe a different sponsor now, perhaps. Maybe Michelin turn.
Well, isn't it Goodyear's on these cars in the sim?
Oh, good question. There's a trivia.
I want to say it is. I want to say it's Goodyear's, but someone in the peanut gallery correct me if I am wrong on that one. Up at the very front, Seppa and Kayla still holding station at roughly 1 second apart from each other. You talked about them trading fastest laps. Neither one really seems to be able to find an edge in this early going. So Seppa's going to have to keep his foot down. And interestingly, you can see in the background at times, Martin Granberg about 1.2 back from them as well. So keeping them honest, one little mistake could cost them. And let's not forget that we have lap traffic most likely later on in today's event.
That is going to play a factor, absolutely. I mean, you look at back to, like you say, with the only thing that might be a little bit of a saving grace, Joe, is the amount of cars that we've lost so far. That might help to just thin the field out a little bit. But the good thing is that the drivers, especially if they're in this top split of the series, then they will know how to conduct, hopefully. But of course, at Long Beach, it's just so narrow. So hopefully it won't cause us too much of a problem for the leaders, but certainly for something for them to negotiate. Severi Seppa now drops into the 1 minute 10s. That is fast pace on a full fuel load.
I can tell you that Peter Konieczny had a little bit of contact with the outside wall after turn 9. We got a replay here. He lost a position. Now the question is, he touches the corner of the car here, which is the last thing you want to do. I worry that he might have suspension damage from that.
Yeah, those walls don't move, and the car is just so fragile. He may have got away with it, but we'll just have to keep a close eye on the lap times for Peter Konieczny. You can see he definitely has rear wing damage, which is not helpful. But has he damaged, like you say, has he bent the steering? Has he bent the? Well, he won't have if it's the rear of the car, of course. But yeah, you don't want to be knocking that down too much. But we'll see how he progresses over the next few laps.
Now, jumping just back behind them, Paul Williams, who we were watching earlier, is ever closer to Vico. You can see on board how close he gets, sending it in deep into the hairpin, but it seems to have compromised his exit. Alexis going to be plenty clear. I don't think this is going to give enough of a run to the number 20, even though he's regained a little bit in the slipstream.
And a Niki Lauda helmet, I like that. That's very cool as well. I actually have a pair of Niki Lauda helmet socks as well, which are very cool. And you also see the Parmalat logo on there as well. The world's fastest yogurt brand.
Are the socks fireproof? That's the real question.
Oh, dear, Joe Peak.
Too soon? Too soon?
Yes, always.
As they head down towards Pine Avenue, Chris Bauman's starting to rock up behind him, picking up the pace. Remember, he got shoved off, and it seems like the damage that he might have gotten from that contact hasn't hurt him too much. He's still in 8th and working his way forward. His last few laps, 1:11.3, 1:11.2. Compare that to Williams at 1:11.8, 1:11.5. So he, before he knows it, is going to be challenging for potentially a top 5.
Yep, it's always a battle of attrition here at Long Beach. If you can keep the car clean, keep it out of the walls, you always can get a slightly better result than you may normally be used to. But we're already up to a quarter distance here. Long Beach hard on the brakes. This is a wonderful corner when you come through there. Turn 1, hard on the brakes, and then just flip the car in. And of course, this car here, this Lotus 79, has got so much performance, so much aerodynamic grip as well. And you can just really hustle it around here. And you see the cars bumping and weaving. And so, actually, you don't get too many slides as well, Joe, because the ground effect is so impressive. You actually don't get a slide, and if you do, you're losing a lot of time.
I have to admit, turn 1 is probably one of the toughest corners for me. I always seem to overshoot it. Meanwhile, Williams getting very, very close, but I don't think Oceanside's going to give him the chance quite yet. Yeah, indeed, he runs out of straightaway back into the hairpin. Is it just me, or are they also gaining a little bit on Peter Konieczny up ahead of them?
Possibly are, yeah. Of course, Konieczny, he's definitely nursing some damage, and now you can see Vico starting to just get almost close enough to grab that little bit of draft, just a tiny slither, almost nothing, but he's just getting closer and closer all the time as they come through into the wonderfully created or wonderfully emulated fountain section, so unique to Long Beach.
It's one of the more iconic, one of the beautiful corners around here. Wow, yeah, that was the Candy Tyrrell of Chris Bauman finding himself having to catch the car coming out of turn 5 that we saw on screen.
God, they all left absolutely no room at all between their tire and the wall there. These three guys are really pushing. Vico in the green Martini number 4 car, Williams in the number 20, and Bauman in the 8 Candy Team Tyrrell machine. They're really pushing on, and I get the impression, Joe, here that they can smell blood. I think they can see that Konecki is he's a wounded lamb, and I don't think they're going to show him any mercy.
No, they're definitely gaining for sure. As we come down the front stretch, riding on the helmet cam of Chris Bauman. He's looking pretty quick in a straight line. He's starting to gain on Williams, despite Williams also towing behind Tapia Vico. But once again, he needs a little bit more than that as they once again hit the fountains section, having to go single file through there. In fact, this is an incredibly narrow part of the track all along here until you get back onto shoreline.
It's a fantastic impression there of just how much of a challenge this circuit is in any car, let alone a 19. Whoa! Wow! Wow! Well held, sir. Well held. That is Chris Bauman. He is really pushing. Now, of course, we forget that Chris Bauman got plowed up the back in the opening section, in the opening lap. So I wonder if oh, God, this is like Mario Kart.
Yeah, Vico made a mistake. He went a little wide, and then Williams checked up, not wanting to get into the back of him. So it was almost a domino effect amongst them.
Yeah, we could just come back to it. I think Bauman, given the impact that he suffered in the fountain section in lap 1, you've got to think that he's got to be nursing some sort of damage, which is maybe harming his rear downforce. But actually, Joe, that car looks relatively clean. And as you see someone recovering there from a run on. Now, who is that behind Bauman? Who has gone off?
That's Jack Ulstad.
Okay, so it's lap behind. I just saw black and gold. I thought, no, couldn't be.
Yeah, that's Jack, who's gone a lap down along with David Sawah, who David had to come in and get a little bit of damage repaired. Drivers who have not had to halt, though, this whole time, Seppa and Kayla. After losing the top spot right from the get-go, Marco's got to be frustrated with himself, especially seeing that he can only get this 8/10 up to Severi. Even though we just saw Seppa have a little bit of a slide in the hairpin, he's using it to good effect at least. He's still 7/10 ahead of him. We're 14 laps into this thing. Can Marco actually do something, or will he have to rely on the lap traffic to make a pick for himself?
Yeah, I think that at the end of the day, these guys are so close on pace that it's very unlikely that Kella will be able to kind of line up a clean overtaking maneuver. So I guess the only thing he can really do is just try and hassle Seppa, make his life as uncomfortable as possible in the lead and try to force him into a mistake. But, I mean, I sound really silly here. Severi Seppa making a mistake, not entirely likely.
No, I think it's going to be tough. But, I mean, Kayla's doing the right thing. He's keeping him honest. He's got him within a second to 3/4 of a second in distance up ahead of him. So if there is one little slip up, if there is one opportunity with the lap traffic, you can imagine he's going to try and pounce at the soonest opportunity, weaving back onto the front stretch one more time. They are definitely pushing because Martin Granberg down to 2 seconds back. He can't keep the pace with those two, as I think we had a problem with Carl Villeneuve, the number 10, appears to have dropped it onto Seaside. And, oh, he had help. Unfortunately, Jack Ulstead just at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Oof. Ooh, that's a big one. That is a really big one. At turn 8, that's a really narrow corner. Is coming around now.
I'm hoping
down
we can
Pine
see
Avenue.
This. Yeah, I'm hoping we can see this from the chopper because there are quite a few overhangs across here. Yeah, just get a glance of it. Ugh. And who was that actually sneaking by in the yellow car? That was Karhalainen, who managed to avoid just absolute disaster, and that'll give him 13th place for that one. As we come back to our leaders, the number 3 ahead of the number 1 machine, coming down into turn 9 one more time. And then it's back into the hairpin. Where is the next bit of traffic? Barry West coming up next. So looks like maybe maybe 2 laps more, and then they'll probably having to be dealing with the slower cars.
Possibly, but Severi Seppa definitely pulling out a little bit of advantage on that lap. There you go. Oof, wow. 1 minute 10.688. So Seppa really starting to push. And I wonder, Joe, if he's just in perfect control of this. Whoa, well, Kella's pushing. There you go. Massive big head shake there. But I just get the feeling that Seppa's now thinking, right, I've got to go here, because if I do get held up by traffic, I've got to have a little bit of a cushion. I can't have my pocket picked by Kella. But as you see, in Barry West, he will be getting a blue flag in his on his screen in his simulator, so he will know. And there you go, pulls right over. Oh, not good. Oh, no. Oh,
he didn't time it right, unfortunately, as Karhalainen seems to have had an issue down into turn 1. He was starting to gain on Mark Hutchison, who had a mistake, and I think Timo got a little too eager. Wow, inches to spare between himself and the tires.
Wow, that was close. That was really close. But I tell you what, I wonder if we can get another look at that little incident there with, well, not incident, nearly incident with Barry West and Severi Seppa number 3. That was close. I mean, Barry was doing his best, but he just kind of run out of road really to let Severi pass. It's so tricky to look in your mirror. So you can see he's pulling over here. He's letting off the throttle. Seppa goes by and Barry just runs out of road, and oof, that was very, very close. Good heads up from the guys, though, not to... I mean, I'm surprised Seppa didn't end up in the tyre wall there, but really in control. But that's just given Kella that little bit more of an advantage. There you go. So it's down to half a second. So, well, that just shows us, Joe, doesn't it, that here at Long Beach, even with a willing lapped car, it's going to cause problems.
Yeah, just unfortunately, there's only so many straightaways that are so long around here. Marco shouting polo, hoping to catch a fish out of water, and he's got it down to half a second as they weave it into the awkward entry into the hairpin. A little wide this time from Seppa, but look at him get on the throttle as the thing picks up speed and stretches away, but Kayla is the closest he's been, 0.3 now. He's pulling a little bit of a slipstream. Defensive move from Severi even, making sure that he covers off any opportunity that Marco might feel he's got, but the wake is forcing him to struggle once again, and it's back up to half a second between the pair.
Yeah, you just wonder maybe if Kella is having to, like you say, leave that sort of half a second gap, because if there's one circuit where you do not want the aero wash. Now, for our listeners, to our viewers who are thinking, what on earth is aero wash? Well, basically, it's the turbulent air that comes out the back of the car in front from the aerodynamic, the way that the air flows over the car and then comes out the back of it. It is very, shall we say, obtrusive to the car behind if you follow too close. And that's the last thing you want, is the aerodynamic grip on your car not to work, because you'll be in the wall here at Long Beach. So I wonder if Kyle is maybe just having to leave that little bit of extra room, but in these slower speed sections he can get closer. But this is the closest we've seen him, I think. 0.3 of a second. He's right in the draft, and we're really starting to put some pressure now on Severi Seppa.
Now imagine if he catches traffic with these kind of runs that he's been getting out of the hairpin. It certainly seems like Marco is a little bit better coming off that final corner, because that's twice in a row now that he's been able to get right up underneath Severi's rear wing. Not close enough to attack, but it's putting him where he needs to be. But he has a little bit of a bobble out of turn 5 this time. Marco was cost about 0.2 of a second. It's back up to 0.75 of a second now between himself and the leader. As all this is happening, just want to give an update for our fans in the mid-pack. Peter Konecki is being hounded by Vico, Williams, and Bauman all together. In fact, they're actually going through some traffic right now. Oh, and Williams just got into the back of Barry West. I think that's his teammate even. And he's, oh no. Oh, it just went horribly wrong.
Oh dear.
Once again, Barry's doing his best to try and get out of the way, and He can. There's only so many places he can put the car, and I get the sense that Williams just kind of picked the wrong side twice in a row, unfortunately.
Well, they won't be sharing a Parmalat yogurt after the race.
No, certainly not.
Oh dear. Like you said, you're absolutely right there, Joe. Barry couldn't do anything because he had Bauman on the other side, so he had to then basically just go straight. And oh, poor old Barry West. He's probably thinking, "Leave me alone. I'm just trying to run my race."
Bauman had a problem. For a second, he jumped up into the lead, and I thought maybe something had happened. His timing and scoring error here. So he has overcooked turn 1. And this was all his doing. He wasn't even trying to pass anybody here. Look at this.
Oh, and he missed his braking point by a long way as well. Interesting. He was following the car in front quite closely, which I think was Vico. And I wonder if that's maybe just... Would that make a difference in the braking, Joe? If you were too close, you maybe wouldn't have this, and therefore the same stopping power.
Yeah, I think it might have. Man, what an awful day for him. Started in 3rd. Was just looking to try and recover to a top 5. And now he's fallen to 11th with that mistake, unfortunately. He's got it all to do all over again. Boy, between that traffic and now Bauman having that mistake, that split up all 4 of the drivers we saw battling for 5th place, which now goes to Tapia Vico amongst them. Johnson moves up to 4th. Actually, did we lose somebody in all of that? No, that was Konecki. So Konecki, excuse me, has lost 5th place, who was there before. So he's fallen to 8th. Meanwhile, on screen, now that I've sorted that out, it is Seppa leading Kayla, P1 and P2 with a full 4 seconds to the next car behind them. It's a 2-car breakaway, and we're just about halfway through at this point.
Yeah, that's the thing, is at half race distance, there is a long old way to go here. And of course, the tyre wear is not something that we really stress much about here in the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix series, but in those last 5 to 10 laps, the grip will not be quite what it was. They still will do the lap time because the fuel load is burned off so much, and therefore the weight, which helps the speed, of course. But that is where, and of course, there's also the concentration factor, Joe, because if there's one circuit that demands your absolute 100% attention, it's Long Beach, and you just cannot afford even the slightest blip. And over a 45-lap race, it's a long way around here. That's where we could definitely see more mistakes. And these guys at the front, they're pushing to the maximum of the limit. So I think that we're far, far from done yet.
One driver that is hoping he's not done is Timo Karhalainen. He didn't qualify, mind you. Started from the back. I think this may have been intentional, because he's gone from 26th up to 13th, which without our 27 starter, he's literally gone from dead last to smack dab in the middle of the field. He's got almost 10 seconds to make up to the next one, so still quite a bit of time. And he's clearly hustling as you see him get it sideways out of turn 5, but he's not given up yet.
Yeah, and a 1:11.0 for his fastest lap. That's not far off what the leaders are lapping at. Their fastest around 1:10.5. So, for, like you say, for his own start, who started at the back, it's he's got the pace to charge through, and a nice festive helmet there as well. That's quite nice.
Clearly in the holiday spirit here as he comes around that final hairpin, and immense power in these Ford Cosworths that they have to deal with. Got a little bit of a group starting to form in 9th. Josu Leokada ahead of John Eddowes, and, well, the man who's had to now come through the field twice, Chris Bauman, already on the back of him.
Somehow Chris Bauman, his car looks like it's just rolled out the Lotus workshop. Now, if you're thinking, yes, well, that's Lotus shoddy workmanship for you, that's not what I mean. I mean it's showroom fresh. And considering the amount of rough and tumble he's had so far in this race, it's extraordinary how Chris has still got a relatively straight race car. So that means that he's got the car underneath him where he can try to recover and make his way. Whoa, easy, easy, easy. Gee whiz, that was a big slide. I thought he was going to try and go up the inside there at the Indy left, turn 10. I don't think I've ever seen that happen.
Yeah, well, if it does, it usually goes wrong and everybody winds up in the tires because you can only go single file essentially through there. He lost some time, unfortunately, with his eagerness as he was on the back of John Eddowes, and then he lost it as, we got a car off. That's Peter Konieczny. That's for position. Peter must have had an issue because I saw some smoke in turn 1. That drops him down to 9th as Leo Cotta gets himself up into 8th.
Oh, yeah, just a bottleneck there at the fountain section. And Baumann, really, he actually had to take evasive action. And, well, he almost ended up in the fountain. He had to just bail out to the side slightly. But this is a classic Long Beach tussle, isn't it, Joe? I mean, it's even drivers at this super high level here in the Lotus 79 series. Even just tiny mistakes are punished so heavily as Marco Keller puts in the fastest lap of the race, 1:10.4. That is hot pace.
And poor Peter did hit the wall into
Look
turn
at
1.
Baumann. Sorry, Joe. Baumann's gone up the inside of the hairpin.
Oh, but look, he's not got the same exit that Eddowes does. He's got the straight line speed, and he is easily going to start to pull away from him. Is Baumann sporting any sort of damage that he's that much slower in a straight line?
I think that front wing damage, he's got a little bit of front wing maybe, but do remember he got hit up the back really hard on lap 1, and it's surprising how he's just wheeling this car hard. But yes, you well spotted, Joe, and well spotted our producer Sean Ambrose also saying that Baumann is down on top speed, so that I suspect that's why he's trying to do the block pass into the hairpin.
And right now we've got the cameras on Peter Konieczny. As I was saying before that happened in the hairpin, he did make contact with the wall, did a full 360 actually, clipping that tire barrier, and is still going. He's sporting a very bent rear wing. Now, is he also potentially lacking that straight line speed, I wonder?
That has a slightly different meaning in certain racing paddocks. If you say you've got a bent rear wing, means you've got an illegal rear wing, or some people would say you've got a bent engine, which means it's making a few more ponies than it perhaps should do.
Look at this, though. He is a sitting duck. He tries to defend, but he can't go all the way to the wall, and Eddowes is going to sneak through. So that is a position up instead of a position down. And that puts Peter Konieczny along with Chris Baumann, so it's the limping cars that are going to have to tussle with one another to settle P11.
Yeah, and Baumann's clearly got some serious pace. He's maybe in an ideal...
Whoa!
That's big!
That'll do it.
Oh, he's going to come back at the... Oh, take a toe, quick. Oh, broadside on the racing line. That is not where you ever want to be, but John Eddowes, he'd done the hard work, hadn't he, Joe? He'd got past these two guys. Oh, and then just makes a tiny mistake, and woof, bang.
Just a little overconfident through that corner. So, as that's been happening, our leader's still passing traffic has allowed Marco to get it down to half a second one more time. Look how close they get to the wall in that curved short straight between 4 and 5. But Marco trying to use every trick in the book to see if this second half of the race can elicit anything for him. It's going to be Dustin Gilliland next, the last car on the lead lap in 15th position.
Keller, he really is trying to put on as much pressure as possible, really starting to fill the mirrors of the John Player Special Lotus of Severi Seppa. Down into the hairpin they go once again, and you look at the entry speed and just flicks it in and then back on the power. Absolutely extraordinary, up to 11,000 RPM. This V8 musical instrument, the Cosworth BFV that sits in the back of this car.
So incredibly, despite losing about 6 cars in the first 3 or 4 laps, Eddowes is the first retirement we've had since then. Everybody else has managed to keep it going. So we ride on board here with Marco. Still seeing that gearbox that I'm sure he's tired of looking at with this many laps. Wheeling it around, my goodness.
Wow, that's that would well, maybe your budding cinematographers out there get in the session and pause it there, and I think you might see 4 wheels off the ground, because that was a Lotus 79 rallycross maneuver there from Keller. Wow, but that little moment that's allowed, it just shows you, Joe, even the most minute mistake, the slightest misstep, and you're shedding 3, 4, maybe even 5/10 of a second, which you just cannot afford in this type of battle.
Let's head back to Bauman and Konecki. Those two are glued to one another. Bauman is lacking just that little bit more straight line speed, I think, than Peter is. And it's making it difficult, even though he does appear to be faster. You can see him poking his nose left and right, trying to see if he can get him offline, shake him off the apex, and be able to get by in a corner.
Well, we've seen Bauman try to overtake in some places you just wouldn't believe would be possible, including at the hairpin. Now, is he going to drive? Oh, he thought about it. He really thought about it, and I think he knows that he doesn't have any other option but to try in some pretty unusual places, but that's all that Chris Bauman can do. But like you say, Joe, I don't think I've ever seen anyone make a clean overtaking maneuver at the hairpin.
Certainly not. As they continue to wheel the heck out of these things through the fountain section. Just in front of them, that is 4th position. That's Leo Cotta that they've caught back up to. I'm not sure. Is this just, yeah, I guess this might be sheer pace. Leo Cotta does not seem to be as quick as the pair of them.
No, it doesn't appear so at this moment in time. About 4/10 of a second the last time around, as you can see. So Konecki and Bauman, they probably got pace to be further up the field, but they are both running wounded right now. But they're still lapping at a pretty decent pace, but considering the damage that they have, as Bauman still goes tight. Interestingly, doesn't appear to have a problem with the handling of the car. Just a whoa. Just when he asked for the power there, when this engine lights up, Joe, it is like an atomic bomb going off.
Yeah, especially getting the revs that low, I imagine. I know from driving the Lotus 49, which uses the same engine, the idea was that I think it was keep it above 6,000 revs, or else when you put the throttle on, it's just going to be a little bit of a whoop, and then suddenly hit that 6,000 revs, and you are off like a shot. And get all the wheel spin you could ever want as they come out of turn 5. Now, as this has been happening, we're getting information that Marco Kayla has tipped the inside of the hairpin at some point, and he's gone down to about 1.5 seconds behind. It was up to 2 seconds at one point. I don't see any damage from these camera angles right now, so maybe he got away with it.
Well, the thing is that inside that hairpin in these cars, if you really want to take it as tight as you can, but you've got to resist that temptation, because these cars, it's so bumpy.
Bauman got to the inside. Oh, Bauman just about lost the car. He actually tried it on the inside of the hairpin this time. Let's look at the replay of this one.
Wow. So Bauman, he's determined to make this hairpin move stick. So he's got Konecki in the yellow car there, and just jinks out when there's lap traffic. Look how tight he turns it. But there's that bump. That must be the same bump that caught out Kayla.
So you're saying he's Bauman determined to make this work?
Well, he's dive Bauman. Dive Bauman. No, sorry, dive Bauman. Yeah, we could call him Chris Dive Bauman.
Oh, man. He was so close. He actually got side by side with him. I thought he was going to make it work, and then he was just too greedy on the throttle with that bump. My goodness. He's given us excitement. I'm sure it's not the way that he wanted to be giving us some thrills here today, as he still is close to trying to pass Peter. So the two continue on, but that melee has cost them time, a little more than a second up to Gioso, and that's possibly going to do it. No, I thought he was going to lose the position. Yes, there he goes. Bauman finally through. Did Konecki actually get the wall in that?
I think he maybe just missed it. He's, well, if he were a cat, he would have used up quite a few of his 9 lives so far.
Oh, here he comes back.
Oh, yeah, because, of course, remember, Bauman is running wounded And yeah, oh my goodness, look at me. I mean, Konecki's car is not perfect either, but you see the advantage there. But Baumann, very, very clever. Wow.
Holy smokes.
Holy smokes indeed, my word.
And I went back and checked when I had the opportunity. Konecki did keep out of the wall, but had inches to spare. Let's take a look at second place. Oh, which is swap positions. When did Granberg get by Marco? This happened on the backstretch. Oh yeah, Marco spun it. So about 40 or 50 seconds ago, the number 1 car not only gave up the lead at the start, now he's given up second at the end of the race.
So it's coming down into turn 8. Very, very tricky. Just got a little greedy on the inside. That's so easy to do. And it's pretty violent when you get it wrong. And he's got heavy damage there. You see this now. The car's starting just to the grip, starting to wear off a little bit. A few more oversteer. Oh. Well, I guess, Joe, that's just an example of how hard these guys are pushing and how easy it is to make that kind of mistake here at Long Beach.
And he's losing another spot. He's falling down to 4th because he's lacking some speed because of that. Nick Johnson getting through in the number 7 machine, qualifying in 8th, now up onto the podium. Yeah, I suppose with that corner that the Finn needed his co-driver to tell him don't cut.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely, yeah. That would be exactly what was required. But well, Severi Seppa now, his race changes completely. He's only got 11 laps to go, and he's got a 10-second advantage over Granberg. So you've got to think for Severi Seppa, he can really afford now to, especially on a street circuit like this, you don't have to take as much risk. You don't have to run it out as close to the wall. You can just change up the gear that little bit higher and smooth it out. So he's in the driving seat right now, Severi Seppa. But my word, I mean, this hasn't been handed to him. Definitely not. He has been the one who's made Kella push, and he was the one who forced Kella into that mistake.
He did indeed, and poor Marco's actually, let's see, last lap was a 1:13.6. That is 3 seconds off of his typical pace, and he's only got about 9 seconds back to Vico, 5.5 more to Williams. So with as many laps that are left, I suspect he might find himself losing more spots as time goes by. There we saw Seppa crossing the line once again. Now 11 to go with a 9.9, 10-second gap, we'll just say it, over Martin Granberg.
Well, so it's well, I think this is probably gone how we expected it to, Joe. A proper street fight here at Long Beach, and it's very much a marathon, a battle to the end, a survival of the fittest sort of contest.
Certainly is. I mean, I made a note for myself before we went live that attrition going to play a factor in today's race. Yet we're still at 19. We haven't lost anybody since John Eddowes. We did have one more spin from Stephen Place. Made slight contact with the wall, but he's back running. In fact, he might be down on speed because I think Carl Villeneuve recently got by him with that. How about this, though? Trying to fight to not be the last car to finish. Jack Ulstead ahead of David Sawah. And we're not used to seeing David Sawah this far down in an open wheel car. It runs in the PRL Formula 3 series, vying for wins typically, even almost for championships. But today it's not gone his way.
No, it is not. You can see there's a lot of damage there as Nick Johnston puts in the fastest lap of the race, and he's up to third, a 1 minute 10.3 for Nick. Very impressive indeed, and you see these cars really damaged bad. But Nick in the Skull Bandit liveried car, fantastic stuff as well. Now, I'm looking at I'm trying to spot what helmet design that is there, Joe. It's either, I think it might be a Karen Chandok design, either that or a kind of alternative Jacques Villeneuve. I'm not sure. I'm trying to catch which one it is. It's an RI. Only the best.
for you, you are familiar with Karun Chandok's helmet. That is, talk about an obscure driver to to know. Oh, and who was that? That was Bauman. Oh, it finally comes to an end. And was this lap traffic? Oh no, not gonna like this. This is Barry West, and that might have been a little bit of ghost contact.
Oh, the digital aero wake. Oh, well, certainly Chris Bauman has he's certainly been the people's champion today for me, Joe. He's certainly given us the most entertainment of the day. He's been spectacular, if not anything.
And I like that term, digital aero wake. I'm going to remember that one as an excuse in sim racing. Meanwhile, we're back to the battle between 18th and 19th, we'll call it, so it sounds a little bit better out of a 26-car field. Ulstead defending from Sirwa.
I think it is a Karen Chandok helmet. I'm just looking at pictures of it now, Joe.
Very well spotted indeed. As they come down the front stretch, Sirwa going to try and slip into the draft of the number 13. He's got that very visible damage on the nose of the car that is just not allowed to do anything with it. He gains under braking naturally. And then he's going to have to try and use this technical portion to see if he can sneak by. They're going to get promoted to 17th and 18th in a moment, as Bauman is now our latest retirement. Stephen Place is also in pit lane, but it appears he's trying to take some repairs, so I think he intends to get back out on course.
Yep, you gotta love that tenacity. Just to, and I tell you what, Joe, if you're willing to, if you've got repairs to go in, fix them, and just keep going and take the flag, you can actually end up getting a result, because we've lost so many drivers that if you've got the patience, if you've got that tenacity to keep going, you will be rewarded for it. So Johnston is absolutely on a flyer. Another 1 minute 10.7 there, and definitely lapping a lot quicker than Granberg. So can Johnston, from 8th on the grid, get up to 2nd as we approach the dying moments of the race?
Now, when he took the fastest lap, I was going to say, I wonder if that's partly due to Seppa backing off now that he no longer has pressure. But no, I need to give full credit to Johnston. I think this is actual pace, because his second qualifying lap didn't count. So he might have had more in his pocket than that 8th place qualifying seemed to show as he crosses him up coming out of the hairpin. So I think this is legit. I think he is on a tear and thinking he could get second place in these last 2 laps over Granberg.
I think so, and it's just that you get that kind of carrot on a stick mentality when you can just smell the place in front. You just grit your teeth that little bit harder, and look how hard he's pushing, just threading this Lotus 79 through the streets of Long Beach. This is just majestic to watch. Brilliant camera angle here from our very own Dougie Beard. Look at that, running it right out to the wall, but really nice and driving really, really hard, but also very smooth at the same time.
As this is happening, I'm keeping half an eye on Marco in the number 1, because Vico is gaining. He was last lap about 2.5 seconds quicker than Marco. So I think it's going to be a matter of time. In fact, yeah, it might be within this next lap. Let's head to Alexis in the number 4 as they come down Seaside Way. And there is the damaged number 1.
Alexis Tapia-Vico, you look at that pace as well, 1 minute 10.5, that's super fast as well at the end of this race. But poor old Marco Keller, that car has obviously got a lot of damage, but to still be doing 1 minute 12s with a car that is well past its best is impressive in itself.
Well, maybe his yogurt is gone sour, unfortunately.
Oh dear.
And down the front stretch, you can see how much Alexis gained there. It is definitely a matter of time at this point. Yeah, you talked about Vico with the 10.5. The best that Seppa has run is a 10.3. So yeah, 0.2 off of our leader is no mean feat, especially in these cars around a track as difficult as this. As he comes up behind, if he doesn't get him here, he's absolutely going to get him down Seaside Way.
Yeah, and Vico, he will be hoping, well, certainly bumping around here, around the streets of Long Beach. He'll be hoping he's just shaken and not stirred.
Vico, as he breaks into turn 9, surprisingly not able to take him there. But perhaps the front stretch, I think with what we saw last time through, it should be very easy for him. A little slow off the hairpin, though. Kayla, as he picks up speed, 135 miles an hour, as Vico's already up to 150. Catching him, hand over fist, no defense. He sees the writing on the wall. Marco's just going to let him through.
Yeah, nothing he could really do there, could Kayla, but you know, even with the problems that Kayla has had in the second half of the race, still in 5th position. I mean, it's not as if his race has been ended completely, so he's just got to try and just limp it home and try and just gather as many points as he can.
If he keeps making slides like that, it will end completely. As we've jumped up to Martin Granberg and the red number 5, and Nick Johnston has it down to 1.3 seconds between the pair of them. It'll be 4 to go pretty soon here. Ahead of them, the overall leaders dealing with a fair bit of traffic, but as we said, it's quite a big gap back to them, and especially if Granberg and Johnston start fighting, that'll give Severy even more wiggle room for the remaining laps.
Yeah, they've just taken just a little smidge out of Severi Seppa, but he's controlling this beautifully, and he has controlled this race absolutely splendidly, has Severi Seppa in the number 3 machine. But can Johnson catch Granberg? It's going to be a big ask, I think, Joe, because you know there's still a little bit of time to make up to get onto the back of Granberg, but as we've seen, the overtaking opportunities can be really, really hard to come by here at Long Beach.
Got another spin from the number 15 of Peter Konecki. Don't think he lost a position, but he's now trying to hold off Mark Hutchison for that one. Let's take a look at that. Just, I think he clipped the curb on the inside of turn 9, did Peter. And that's what caused him to be facing the wrong way. Another driver with a day to forget.
Yeah, it's certainly been a difficult day for Peter Konecki, but you know, here at Long Beach, if you've had that much problems and still getting a top 10 finish, it's one of those ones where you think back and you think that could have been a whole lot worse. You look at some drivers, some big names that are out the race and are scoring nothing or very little. You've got to think that Peter Konecki will just get this car limped over the line and move on to the next round. And you've got to think that although not ideal, although not where his pace would maybe have lifted him to, he's just about banking those points for the championship.
Don't need to go to it, but Karhalainen also clipped the wall and spun himself around. Didn't lose a position because of it. Looks like Peter's starting to get on it, though, so he's leaving Hutchison behind. Meanwhile, as we come back to second place, I think Johnston's got too little too late. It's down to 1 second, but we're coming up to 2 to go here in a moment.
Also coming up to some lap traffic. It just it's maybe just going to be the right point for Granberg. Didn't look to lose too much time there. We'll get the draft from this back marker here, all the way down the straight down Shoreline Drive to long. It's only a relatively long straight as Nicholas Johnston puts in the fastest lap of the race, a 1:10.3. He is wheeling that Skull Bandit machine, but he's going to come across the lap traffic at just the wrong moment. Here, coming into turn 1, and oh, it's a car park at the fountain, and that, I think, is just giving Granberg the edge he needs with 2 laps to go.
Still, Ulstad pulling out of the way at just the right time to at least allow Johnston to minimize the damage. It's 0.8 of a second. He's actually still gained some in all of that. Incredibly, the number 7 not giving up on this one. We're going to get the white flag next time by. He could get a whiff of the slipstream, but then it's one thing to catch a car, it's a whole nother to pass, especially around a street circuit.
Indeed, it is, certainly. Well, this is, you got to think, though, that for Martin Granberg, I can assure you viewers that he will not be relaxed at the wheel of that car right now. Nicholas Johnston really asking, oh, a big dab of oversteer there just to tame the beast. Onto the final lap they go then, and as you say, Joe, I think Granberg has just got enough of a gap, but there just looks like there's a little bit more lap traffic to contend with there.
And he's going to get by him at a crucial moment because once again, they'll be split by a car through the fountain section. That's Sirwa this time in the Ligier. That doesn't pull over the same way that we saw Ulstad do, though. They now come through turn 5 a little bit wide, causing all sorts of frustrations. Another spin for Konecki in the same spot, unfortunately. Boy, he really is not going to be a fan of turn 9.
No, definitely not. Well, that's a little bit the Ligier, yeah, just blocking things a wee bit, which you would think if Johnston had had headlight flashers, he would have been using them there.
Thankfully not the case here on these cars, but out of the final hairpin, Seppa didn't get the pole. He doesn't need it. He's going to take the win here for the first official race at Long Beach for the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series. And Granberg withstanding the pressure for well-earned second, as Nick Johnson should still be plenty happy with this third. He came all the way from 8th on the grid.
Yeah, that's a great move through the grid for Nicholas Johnston, but Marco Kella, maybe just a little bit of a story of what could have been. He was really putting some pressure on Severi Seppa, the only guy able to run the pace consistently, but a little mistake costing him. As we see is there's a car running out of fuel here. The number 20 machine of...
I can't tell.
Will you just making it over the line?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he's out of... And he parked it, so it looks like he just made it across. So Williams going to get 7th from that. Incredibly, out of our 26 starters, only 12 on the lead lap, and only 17 saw the checkered flag. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews. So don't go away. Welcome back to Long Beach. We just watched round 2 of the Sunday Grand Prix series, and Severi Seppa took the win this time. Martin Granberg followed him home without pace to try and challenge Severi, and Nick Johnston wound up in 3rd. Alexis Tapia Vico promoted up to 4th after starting from 10th, ahead of our pole sitter, Marco Kela. He was the closest to Severi for much of the race, but unfortunately got into it and got damage that slipped him down to 5th in the end. Still, great job to him to at least grab the top 5. Dennis Shaning was 6th, and Paul Williams was 7th. Giosu Liokata was P8, ahead of Mark Hutchison in the 9th position. Peter Konecki, another one that went backwards, finishing 10th of our 26 drivers.
In 11th position here at Long Beach today was Timo Karolainen with Carl Villeneuve, the last car on the lead lap in 12th. In 13th was Justin Gilland, followed by Mark Schmedding, Barry West, David Sorois, Jack Ulstad. Chris Baumann certainly gets the People's Champion vote from me today. Such an exciting race for Chris, if not eventful, with Stephen Place in 19th and John Eddowes in 20th.
From there on down, sadly, it was all DNFs that you see on your screen. So we've pulled in our second place finisher, Martin Granberg, to talk to him about this race, kind of promoted up just by consistency. Martin, I have to admit, with it being Long Beach, did you not expect to gain a few spots just from that attrition? Martin, do you have a copy?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
There we go. Considering you gained a spot or two and wound up in second, not by passing people, but just by sticking with it, is that kind of what you expected today here at a street circuit?
Normally not, but I haven't practiced that much, but I've been faster than I normally am. But I think it's part due to most of the big guys are still celebrating Christmas, but I figure I'd be up there. I was very close to the race before until I got taken out by a backmarker, but Sebri was a bit faster this race.
Talk about the start as well. The two ahead of you weren't quite as quick as you, but then you had to back out. Were there warning lights going off in your head when it started to almost go 3 or 4 wide?
Yeah. I got a good start, but got pinched pretty quick from what I remember. But it turned out quite okay, the start as well. I'm not sure if what happened behind me. I think Chris Baumann was very close, and I think he backed out into T1, and then I'm not sure what happened. Something. It probably made my day a bit easier, I think.
It certainly did. Not a good start for Chris Baumann's season because he unfortunately had many other problems. He got hit in the back from Sean Wiltshire, unfortunately. I can report on that end. So the first official race here at Long Beach for the Lotus 79, which I imagine has been a long requested track for this community. I suspect everybody's going to elect to keep this one on almost permanently from here on out.
Yeah, I think it's great. I didn't like Belle Isle. It was too bumpy. It might be better with the new tires, but with the old tire model, my shoulder got shaken apart, so I couldn't drive it. But here it wasn't any problem. So I'd like to have it permanent.
Yeah, I think I would vote for that as well. Well, congratulations on a podium today, Martin, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you some more throughout the season.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Martin Granberg going from 4th on the grid to 2nd today. Up next, Peter's caught up with a man that made even more spots up, Nick Johnson, going from 8th to 3rd.
Nick, that was a superb drive here at Long Beach from 8th on the grid up onto the podium. How was it from your seat?
It was pretty exciting there in the first part. A couple guys got together into the fountain, and we had to kind of follow our way through there and make up a few spots at the beginning were kind of given to me, so that worked out well. And then I think at one point in the mid part of the race, I set on trying to run down the gap to Martin, and it would come down a bit and go up a bit, and we were kind of going back and forth. And towards the end, when the fuel got light, my car picked up a lot of pace, and I was able to run him down fairly close, but with lap traffic and other factors, we just weren't quite able to get there, but super happy with the podium.
Absolutely. Now, in the commentary box, we were debating on where you get the helmet design from on that RI helmet. I thought it looked very like a Karen Chantok helmet, but can you tell our viewers where the design comes from?
It's actually my own personal racing helmet.
Aha, I wondered. I just when I was looking at it, I'm going, it's just different. I see. So, where do you race in the real world, Nick?
I raced karts for many years here in the United States and abroad, and then now we do stuff with Mazda Miatas, track days, and working towards some more wheel-to-wheel racing here in the next couple of years.
Oh, fantastic stuff! Well, we're big fans of the helmet design. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to here on the Global SimRacing Channel?
Yeah, I know the helmet doesn't quite fit the whole CTC 70s era thing. It's my helmet. I gotta wear it. Thanks to you guys for doing this week in and week out with the broadcast. It makes it fun, brings people to the race. All the guys from the CTC Championship for putting this all together so we can run these cars, especially at this track, Long Beach, my home track. I've circled this one on my calendar before. I mean, ever since this was a tech track, and I was hoping they were going to finally make it, and here it is. And just so excited to run this and have a good time. And thanks to everyone.
Fantastic. Well, great drive, Nick, and looking forward to chatting again very soon.
We'll see. Have a good day.
So that was third place, Nick Johnston. And one last interview we've got is 15th place, Barry West, who maybe didn't want to be involved in the way this race played out quite as he did. Barry, it looked like one to forget today for you. Oh, now we've got Barry in here. Excuse me. Jumped the gun a little bit on the question. Barry, it looks like a day to forget for you. Talk to us about it from your perspective.
Yeah, well, I've had 2 races here, and I've been rear-ended before turn 1 on both of them. I just expected trouble ahead. And you just can't go anywhere. It's just I just slowed down, minding my own business, looking for the way through, and then I think it was over. It was obviously a bit frustrated because from the back just lifted me up in the air and spun me around, and I think I got about 3 times on the wall before I managed to get going again. And I did think I'll go into the pits and get repairs, but it's such a long pit road. And I saw, was it David Surios went in early, and I thought, oh, that's going to be interesting towards the end of the race. And him and Jack Elstead were catching up. And then I just pushed a little bit more at the end of the race, but you just couldn't take risks, especially with a damaged car. I think I had front and rear wing damage, and it was no fun. Managed to keep it pointing in the right direction, but it was not a fun race. I'd like to do another one where I don't get any damage, but just one of those things, but still gain places, but just people too hot-headed at the beginning of the race. 45 laps is a long time.
It is. We did notice that this one felt just slightly longer than a typical race here in the Lotus 79. But I mean, knowing that you had that extra distance, and like I said to Martin Granberg, with this being a street course, I have to imagine part of your incentive to keep out there and circulating was because you knew you could get up as high here as 15th to just keep it running.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, there's going to be a few incidents, especially towards the end of the race, because I did 62 laps in the week, practice full race distance. And I noticed how bad it was towards the end. So I'm thinking, well, yeah, people make mistakes, and you can pick up places, even though you might not be on the lead lap. And I thought I managed quite well until I managed to balk my teammate, Paul Williams. Oh, dear me. That was such a bad thing. I was trying to let him go, and he was trying to go past. And but that was my teammate. And then towards the end, I think Chris Bauman was coming around the outside of me into turn 5 or 6. And I thought I gave him plenty of room. And when I just looked at the replay, there's a good 3-4 feet between us. So I think it was a war pit, but I'm really sorry to Chris. It ruined and ended his race. But yeah, apart from that, there was lots of overtakes, but not by me, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I can confirm from our perspective, it looked like a net code, or as Peter put it, I like this, a digital arrow wash. So we'll call it that from now on between the cars. Again, commiserations that it wasn't higher up, but still a great job plugging away and bringing the car home, sir.
Thank you.
That was Barry West with a 15th, and that's going to close us out with one little detail. I was confirmed behind the scenes. It was Goodyear's that they ran on here and the Lotus 79 back in the day, but even though they aren't marked, we'll just call these Smud years or something like that they've got on the machines. Meanwhile, a big thanks to the Lotus 79 community for bringing us back for another season of coverage, and also a thank you to the companies that provide the software and the hardware that you can see here on your screen. Additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Her Bandcamp is there listed, where you can find more of her tunes. And thanks to the team today, Peter, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Our social media includes Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to support us, we've got a merchandise store linked below in the description. It's just gsrc.storenv.com. But make sure you subscribe to the channel while you're sitting down there. The next race, we're heading back to a little bit more of a modern track. Suzuka. Will be Sunday, January 3rd at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen as well, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.